Good afternoon, everybody out there. This is Arjax coming at you again with yet another tanking guide. This dungeon is actually pretty fun. This dungeon, I think, was remade into a later level dungeon as well. So, yeah, it's just a great dungeon. It's a great run. It's fairly easy at these low levels. But you're going to see me wipe here, and it's because I became a little too ambitious. Thankfully, everybody stayed with me and didn't get all upset over it. You know, you're gonna make mistakes, and I'm choosing to use this video just to illustrate a mistake that I make that a lot of people tend to make, or at least I make quite a few times. And it's really knowing how much damage you can take and how much healing can be healed. Something I didn't notice when I was recording this video was I actually don't have my heirloom shoulders, which is quite funny to me anyways. It's like I always talk about using heirlooms and how great heirlooms are, and here I am not utilizing my heirlooms. Well, not utilizing them all. So as you can see, obviously through here, pulling all these groups isn't really a challenge for me or the healer, and so that's where I'm going to become overzealous a little bit. And not in this pull, but in one coming up. But so overall, this is pretty cool, a pretty good run. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people. So this boss, the only thing you really need to know about, and if you have a pally and you're doing this on a pally, just be ready for your lay of hands. You don't need it. The healer usually gets everybody up, but there's a point in this boss where he is going to, right here, he's going to zap everybody down to almost no health. And so if you were a pally, you could certainly cast Lay of Hands on somebody and help out the healer. It takes the healer a little bit of time to get everybody back up, but overall, you know, that's not really your job as the tank, and the healer should be able to do it. But so that's the only thing right there. Other than that, just very straightforward boss. There's really no mechanics. Something about this dungeon that you need to know is that as you're progressing through the dungeon, you're actually going to be completing the quests and getting new quests. So be aware that I actually missed one of the quests and have to run back, which, as much as I try to progress the group through, I'm probably not going to run this dungeon again. I'm just going to overlevel it because these early levels are very fast. So, and this area coming up here is actually where I do pull way too much, apparently. So, and it's easy to do with the monk. I'm just like choo choo, throwing my little barrels around, and I pull the whole room, and you're gonna watch me die right here. So I'm actually gonna cut the run back through, and you know, you guys all know what happens once you wipe and you have to run through. We're actually not doing bad. I was staying in the healing circle, but overall, you know, still wiped. My fault. Absolutely my fault. 100% my fault. So I'm gonna cut the video here and come back to the plates. So because of my haste, I cost the group about 30 seconds. So I go ahead and pull the guy before everybody's here. Probably should have waited, but Heals is going to get here in time. I was watching on my little mini map, and he's there. So I'm going to pull the rest of this room a little bit slower, obviously, being as I just watched us wipe, and I don't think that it was anybody's fault but mine, and I don't think we could do it any better. So I'm going to pull the group a little bit slower, but still a little quick. So I pick up 4 mobs right there. And, you know, that was like a little test. The big guy, I kind of found out how much damage and sustainability that I'm going to have with the healer. Honestly, probably could have pulled a little bit more, but after just wiping, the last thing you absolutely want to do is wipe again, because then you will get people to start leaving. So I noticed that 2 of the big guys could probably be sustained, so I go ahead and I pick those up, and my estimate based on just the feel of it obviously was correct. So, and then again, you know, we got a druid healer, so they have their circle of healing, and you want to stay in that. That really helps them. It helps them conserve their mana. It makes the healer's job a little bit easier. So, yeah, absolutely. You know, just pay attention to your healer. Pay attention to what kind of healer you have, because there's definitely a production that's going on between you and them. So most people actually go through the bottom here. There's a lot more ads, and so I guess if you're looking at total EXP, it might be faster. You might get more EXP going that way. It's certainly more quick to run this way, so that's why I'm doing it. And you know, you get the end of the dungeon bonus. So I just feel that getting the bosses and running through and not getting weighed down with unnecessary ads is absolutely the way to go. I don't know if that's backed up by facts, but it's certainly what I do, and it makes running the dungeons faster and more fun to me anyways. I don't know about the DPS. I don't understand, you know, because I don't really play DPS, so I don't know what they feel about it, or the healer. But you know, one of the concerns is that if we do it this way, you can actually skip a boss. I like picking up the bosses, so I'm absolutely gonna pick up all the bosses, and you're gonna actually see them message and be like, "Hey guys, I don't wanna miss a boss." And well, you know, I'm not in the habit of skipping bosses, and especially not for a video. So we're actually gonna pick up that boss. But these ads, you know, there's nothing special about them. Obviously, you're seeing me pull them here, and I'm a leather-wearing tank. So if you're playing a paladin or a warrior, you can absolutely pull these guys. The only thing that I would be cautious with is making sure that you're able to hold the aggro. You should be able to if you have an AoE. If you don't have an AoE, you know, be aware of that. So the boss is down that hallway to the left, and what I like to do is I like to pull all these ads first, just to get them out of the way, because like I said, I've already wiped once on this dungeon. You absolutely don't want to wipe again. So with that being said, you know, just going to kill these ads before pulling the boss. The boss is very simple, but you know, you don't want to wipe, so absolutely just going to do these. And so you see there, they the DPS is like, "Hey, I don't want to miss that boss," and I'm like, "Yeah, we won't." So I run back here, and I'm just going to taunt the boss. He's right here, and I'm going to run him back into this other room so that we don't accidentally pull all those ads, because that would be a bad day, and I'm pretty sure that would cause a wipe, especially with the boss. So I pull him over here to where we just killed the ads, and we're just going to DPS them down. Very simple, very fast. There's really no mechanics to this boss with a lot of the lower level dungeons. So just straight DPS fest. He did summon somebody, I think, or maybe he got pulled from the other room. But either way, no. Well, I guess he summoned him because he disappeared once the boss was down. So we're going to run up here, and we're going directly into another boss room, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is absolutely another boss room. So I'm going to pull the ads. You see the boss up there, and I made sure not to pull the boss with these ads. Could have I probably, while I'm watching this come back, we could have probably handled him with the ads, but you know, I didn't. So, you know, you just watch your DPS chart and you watch how much these guys are going down. So obviously right here I should have probably pulled the boss. It would have sped it up a little bit. But anyways, so here we go. There's really nothing spectacular about the boss. I pull him my face backwards towards the DPS. Don't know if that really helps at these early levels. I'm definitely seeing some of my attacks parried, so I had assumed that it's helping them with their hit percentage. So there he goes, and he is dead in 2 seconds. So this is actually the quest that I missed. I actually run up here a little bit, and I'm like, where is everybody? And I start attacking, and I didn't realize that my group wasn't with me. Absolutely the worst thing in the world to do, because without heals, as a monk, you don't have any self heals this early, anyways. So I'm like, oh no, I'm almost dead. So I run back, and the healer was actually coming with me. So once I actually got those heals up, I went back and I DPS'd them down. But what I didn't realize was the group was waiting on the quest. So this is where I'm going to make the group wait a little bit, because I'm going to run back and turn in that quest, because like I said, you're probably not going to run this dungeon again at low levels, and I know that I didn't. Well, recording the audio for this, I'm already at level 25, and I've just run one of each of the dungeons at this level. So, in these early dungeons, you definitely want to turn in the quests as you go and do them, because otherwise you're going to end up rerunning it because you didn't get that quest. You can't go back. Well, at the end, I could have gone back and turned in that quest, but then I would have missed the quest, and then I'd have had to run a whole nother dungeon just to get that quest. So, unfortunately, I had to prolong this run by about 30 seconds. So, I've kind of wasted about a minute of the group's time with the wipe and then this. Probably a little bit more. So this room, you can actually pull everything without wiping, and based on our performance, I've paid attention and we haven't wiped. So I go ahead and I just pull the whole room. It's absolutely is gonna speed it up a little bit instead of doing it in onesies and twosies because of the AoE. So these bridges, they're a little unique. These gargoyles to the left are going to spawn, but once you're already halfway in, they don't do a whole terrible amount of damage. So I could have probably just chain pulled them and pulled something else, but I didn't do that. Just giving some friendly advice. These guys are pretty much insignificant. You pretty much instantly kill them, and you got 2 more gargoyles. If I would have been thinking about it and had remembered this dungeon a little bit better, I would have pulled the gargoyles, came down here, and grabbed the other gargoyles. So, there's actually a treasure chest there. I think nobody tries to open it. I don't know if you can, but that'd definitely be something I wish I'd have looked at. I didn't notice it at the time of the run. So, in this room here is actually pretty simple. I could have probably actually just chain pulled these again, but the healer and a few other people were behind. And the one thing you want to be aware of with chain pulling is you want to get enough damage and aggro on them, so as you're running, DPS is going to DPS, and you don't want them to pull off because that'll split up the group. So that's the only major thing right there that you need to be aware of with the chain pulling. Probably could have done it. Probably could have started after I'd hit them once or twice, because it was a relatively long run in corridors. But, no harm, no foul. Didn't spread out the group, and everybody's together, which is going to speed up the progression of this dungeon. So, the dangers in spreading out the group is that the healer, well, obviously you're not doing your job if the DPS takes the aggro off from you. And, that's annoying for you because you have to run back and do it. But it's also really annoying for the healer because these guys aren't, geared to take the type of damage that you are geared to take and expect to take. So you might even cause them to die, and then you're going to have somebody rather annoyed that they died. They're going to blame the healer, they're going to blame the tank, and ultimately, it realistically is your fault. It's not the healer's fault, because if you spread out the group and they DPS it and pull the aggro, that's your job above all, is to hold that aggro. So, if you do that, you're ultimately realistically failing at your job, even though you're trying to do your job by pulling more mobs and get the progression of the raid to go faster. I just lagged out a little bit there. But, you know. And I think the most time spent waiting is after the first boss and this boss. And you're waiting not so much on a character or a tune or anything like that, but you're ultimately waiting on the quest guy to come and unlock the thing and then give you the next quest. So, like I said, make sure you turn these in because you're probably not going to run this dungeon again unless you miss something. But, you know, I'm already past the point with my monk where I'm not going to be running this dungeon, and that's part of the reason why I re-rolled a monk, was so that I could run these dungeons again, because when I started leveling my pally and my other tunes for these videos, I was just doing random dungeons, and so I actually didn't get this dungeon, and so I missed this dungeon on my progression, so I needed to come back and grab that, because, you know, my ultimate goal here is to run every dungeon, record it as a guide, so, you know, if you're having an issue, or if you're like me and you want to know everything about the dungeon, or at least a broad overview of the dungeon and what you need to do in order to get through it successfully and have an idea of what's going on. And I definitely, absolutely, 100%, that's my ultimate goal with these videos, is to just be able to instill a little bit of confidence in the people that are going to be running these dungeons before they run them, you know, because that was the scariest thing for me, and the scariest issue for me trying to tank was, I was like, oh my gosh, these, you know, obviously the tank's a very critical and important role in a dungeon. How am I going to do this? I really don't know the dungeons all that well. And as DPS, like for me, driving a car, like I never learn where I'm going until I actually drive. And so with the DPS, I never felt like I knew the dungeons. So I scurried the videos online and I looked for some, and I couldn't really find any for the lower level dungeons. I mean, you can find run-throughs for pretty much every other dungeon, but, you know, I ultimately wanted to put together a collection of dungeons for everybody. So this boss right here is fairly easy. He's got these little pistols, and you want to dodge his AoE things. And so right there, if you don't get out of there and you don't have a good healer, you're going to die. And, you know, possibly even cause the group to wipe. But since everybody pretty much is running heirlooms now, it's not that big of a deal. The group's probably not going to wipe, but what's going to happen is you're going to lose the EXP from running this guy. So like all the other ones, the quest is going to be right up the stairs, the turn in. And if you like my video, please like, comment below. If there's something I could have done better, please comment below. Arjax out.